Hello. For those of you that have never seen my channel before, my name's Cher and I live in southeastern Wyoming. I am going to do a video today of making banana bread. Um, but I got to thinking this morning that so much goes into making a YouTube video that I don't think people realize, and I'm still new to it. I've only been doing it since June. So I thought rather than starting the video when I'm getting ready to actually make the banana bread, I thought it might be kind of fun just to set up my camera and let you see what all is involved in getting ready for a video. So I'm going to do that. I have a lot of stuff to get together. So maybe this will kind of catch everything that I'm going to do. So like I said, there's a lot, you've got to do to start a video. If you're wearing a mic, you've got to make sure that that's been charged. You've got to make sure your phone is charged. You've got to clean your camera on your phone. You've got to turn on airplane mode. You've got to turn Bluetooth on if you're using a mic. Besides getting yourself ready, there's a lot that goes into it. So like I said, I'm just going to let my camera run. I'm going to let you see what it takes to get prepared to make a video. So like I said, we're doing banana bread, so I'm going to start getting my stuff out with that. I've said that I don't have a fancy center island here, so I have to use an extension cord if I'm going to use anything electrical. So I've got to plug that in back here. So today this is going to be a little bit longer video because before I start the bread, there's a couple of things that I'm going to address on here today that I just feel like I want to talk about. But first, I'm going to get all of this together here. Matthew, you want to come say hi?
Hello.
Matthew's mom.
Leave me all alone.
You're not all alone. She had to go run a few errands, so he's here with me. Got my recipe here. I guess this is something that I can show you since I'm kind of letting you watch what's going on. This is my recipe that I'm going to use today. This was my great grandma's banana bread recipe, the one I'm going to be using. So with me, there's recipes that I come across that I know that I like, and those are the only ones that stay in this book. So if I don't usually put them in my book until I know for a fact that I like them and it's something I'm going to make again. So this is just something that I've done, just kind of showing you this really quick. I've got all different categories. I've got main dishes. I've got casseroles, salads. I've got soups, appetizers, bread and muffins. That's where my grandma's recipe is right here, my banana bread. So like today, I'll be pulling this out. So all the recipes in here are recipes, like I said, that I know for a fact that I've tried and that I like. A lot of them come from my mom. Desserts. I've even got a holiday section, and those are more for what I use like during Thanksgiving and Christmas. I even last year took the time to write out kind of the steps that I took for making my Thanksgiving dinner. So I just thought I'd really quick share that with you. So I'm going to pull out my banana bread recipe. So before I get into this recipe, I said I wanted to address a few things. I don't know who's watched my introduction video or who's watched any of my videos. First of all, if you've never watched me, my name's Cher. I live in southeastern Wyoming. I live here with my daughter and my grandson. My husband lives and works in North Dakota, so he's not home very often. He'll actually be home later today. So that's one of the reasons that I'm going to make banana bread. I try to have something ready as far as some kind of a dessert for when he does come home. So like I said, you kind of saw what I had to do to get kind of ready. So I started my channel the 1st of June and I'm doing okay with it. I definitely get a lot more views for my shorts that I put up than I do for my actual videos. And that's fine. That's kind of part of YouTube, is people getting to know you, which is kind of what I want to get into really quick. Um, I've not had a lot of any really controversial comments, a few. One addressing a video I did where they saw my grocery haul and I had bought Fruit Loops for Matthew and I had bought, I think, some cookies for my husband. They saw that I was using aluminum foil. Um, she went into detail about how the food that she saw in my video is going to cause cancer. And, the biggest thing I want to tell you about being a YouTube creator, it's hard, especially when you're doing a video where you're going to cook or bake something. You're having to concentrate on everything you're doing, plus making sure the camera's working, your mic's working, making sure that you make sense of what you're doing. And for me, I am new. Like I said, I started the 1st of June, so I've not done it very long. It's a lot of learning as I go. But I think the thing that I want to say is, with YouTube creators, I follow several that I really enjoy watching. Um, One being Miss Lori on Whippoorwill Holler. If you see this, Miss Lori, hi. Um, why do I follow her? Well, it's who she is. She's a great person. I love her recipes as well, but I follow her because I feel like I know her. I feel like she's a great person. If I'm watching a creator, if I get to a point where I feel like I don't like them as a person, I unsubscribe and I'm probably not going to watch them anymore. And that's just how it is. And I think that's what people are looking for with YouTube creators is, do I like that person? There's controversy, should you show your kids and grandkids in videos? Um, I've always said that I'm going to try to be very transparent and very real to life. I'm not worried that somebody's going to steal one of my grandkids or abduct them. God help them if they try. I don't worry about that. Of course, I have permission from their parents if I do a video with them. But the point that I want to make is there's a lot that goes into making a YouTube video. And you're either going to like that creator or you're not. Like I said, there's some that I started off really enjoying. I've had a lot of reasons that I will unsubscribe. One is if they do a lot of advertising in their videos or sponsoring. I don't mind that, but when it's 3 or 4 times during the video they're stopping because they're being sponsored and they're going to advertise, I'm probably going to unsubscribe to them no matter how much I like them or thought I liked them, how much I like their recipes, whatever it may be, their content. Um, but there's no reason to judge every video. If you come across somebody and feel like you have to leave a negative comment, I think there's a nice way of going about it without being so judgmental. If you if you're to that point where you have to leave a negative comment, just move on. Um, you don't have to watch them. And like I said, I'm sure they've seen me with a tattoo, but yet they see me share shorts about, and I do one every day. I share a short usually in the morning of a Bible verse and at night of a prayer. And I'm sure they're judging me. Oh, she's got tattoos, but she claims to be a Christian. That's wrong. And if you don't like me, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to follow anybody that you don't like. You know, there's just no reason for negative comments. And like I said, I've only had a couple the one lady that talked about the food that's going to kill all of us. And as far as that goes, you know, you're going to leave this world one way or another. I don't think a few cookies are going to harm you. You're not going to go to hell if you have a tattoo. Um, I'm just real. One of my videos that I did, it was showing going through my closet, getting rid of clothes. I shared in the video how much I weigh. I don't care about that. That's me. That's who I am. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to say that. So keep in mind, if you have to leave a negative comment, just don't. Just move on. You don't have to watch that person. It should be about enjoying the videos. If you're going to be on YouTube, you you're going to have to be a little bit transparent because those people count on you and they get to feel like they know you, almost like they're you're their friend. So it's, to me, that's really important. But anyway, enough about that. If I haven't bored you terribly already with that. So this recipe that I'm going to make, and I've already left, there it is. This was my great grandma Ruby's banana bread recipe. It's just a recipe that my family's always used, and it does, I think, make amazing banana bread. So that's the recipe I'm going to share today with you. I am going to double the recipe. I want 2 loaves, but I'm going to really quick just read you the ingredients just so you can kind of, compare to maybe your recipe. It's 1 cup of sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 stick of softened butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3 ripe bananas mashed, 2 beaten eggs. Your dry ingredients are 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then optional walnuts or pecans. Now, I thought I had walnuts, but I don't. I've just got pecans. So I'll be using pecans in one of these loaves, at least, if not all of it. So I'm going to get started on that. So it's a pretty simple recipe. In a large bowl, you're going to cream together your sugar, salt, cinnamon, and vanilla. Now, one thing that, and see, I put this in the wrong bowl. I need the big bowl for the wet ingredients. The only thing that I do a little different with this recipe, I do add just a little bit of cinnamon and I do add a little bit of vanilla. That's the only thing that I've changed with using her recipe. So, like I said, the first thing in a large bowl, we're going to cream our sugar, salt, cinnamon, and vanilla. So, and already I might have messed up. I feel like that I measured out more than 2 cups of sugar. So I'm going to remeasure. So to double this, I need 2 cups. 1. I guess I was right, but you know what? It never hurts to double check. Okay. So in that, you're going to put your sugar. And I'm going to have to soften this butter just a little bit more. Leftover pancakes from last night. So it's going to be 2 cups of butter. No, I never use margarine, ever. I will sometimes use some lard or Crisco. So I'm going to put my butter in there. And I don't know if anybody else does this, but I'm not going to do it today, but I will usually save my little papers from my butter if you need to grease a pan. Usually, of course, I have to grease my loaf pans. So I'll use my little papers from the butter to grease those pans. There was plenty on there. Still got butter on here. Okay. So, again, we're going to cream the sugar and butter, salt, cinnamon, and vanilla. Okay, so I'm going to just start off first and cream my sugar and butter. I do think that's important with recipes. I've even noticed with cookies, I think one important step is really cream almost to the point of whipping that butter with that sugar. So in a large bowl, you're going to cream your sugar and butter. And I'm going to mix that pretty good. Like I said, I do think that that kind of makes a difference with things. Okay. Wish I had more room on this to work with, but I don't. Okay. Cream, sugar, and butter. Then you're going to add in your salt. I am using this pink Himalayan salt. So a half a teaspoon of salt. So of course I'm doubling it. So that's going to be one teaspoon of salt. Now cinnamon, like I said, this isn't the original recipe. I added this, and I don't like for one recipe. I would say, I don't know, maybe a half of a teaspoon, or a quarter of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Like even with doubling this, I'm only going to do a half a teaspoon. That's just enough. You don't want it to overpower the taste of that banana bread. And vanilla. And like I said, the vanilla's also something that I'm adding that the original recipe doesn't call for. But I think vanilla makes everything better. But you don't have to use it. So my grandma's original recipe, you wouldn't use the cinnamon or the vanilla. So I'm going to mix that up again. I don't know if I've said before, I wanted a really good hand mixer, and I decided to get this KitchenAid one, but I can't say I'm super crazy about it. Okay, sorry, that was loud. Okay, so the next thing you're going to put in is your eggs. And I usually always crack my eggs into a separate bowl. I just want to make sure I'm not getting any of the shell in whatever I'm making. So I don't know if you watched my last video on, it was just a pretty short video on my sourdough bread fail. And I said I had been sick. I actually felt better yesterday. And today I'm still not feeling great. See, I got a shell. Of course, I went to the doctor over a week ago and he said it was allergies. However, I don't think allergies cause you body aches and everything that I've had. Quite a bit of congestion. Still getting over that. So my nose is still kind of driving me crazy and I'm still coughing. Okay. So again, I'm doubling this. So it would normally be 2 eggs, but I'm going to do 4. So then you're going to add your eggs in there. And get those mixed in. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside just for a minute. So I've got those wet ingredients mixed in the flour. That was 2 cups of flour. Of course, I'm doubling that. So I needed 4 cups. I've got that. This calls for 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So of course I'll do 2. So yeah, I'm still not feeling the best. My mom was sick too. I don't know what it is. So now I've got my baking soda in my flour. Just going to stir that up a little bit. Set that out of my way for a minute. So I know these bananas, showed those briefly. I know that looks terrible, but that's because they were ripe, overly ripe. What I try to do at the grocery store here, you can get a big bag of bananas that they're not even that bad really when you get them. but I'll get those and freeze them, and I'll usually do 6 to a freezer bag because I usually always make 2 loaves of banana bread if I'm going to make it. I figure since I'm making it, I might as well. And I know they look bad, but they're fine. Um, there was a time that I didn't leave them in the peel to freeze them. I would take them out, but then I got to thinking, I feel like leaving the peeling on there is even better as far as kind of protecting it from, freezer burn. So this is going to be messy. It won't hurt anything. The only thing you want to be sure of when you do this is you're going to have a lot of liquid when you have froze them this way. Don't pour off that liquid. If you do, your banana bread is going to be really dry. You want that liquid out of that banana peel. So don't get rid of it. Whatever liquid is in there, you need that. Now I did experiment with this recipe. Instead of bananas, if you've got zucchini to use up, I tested it. You can do 2 cups of shredded zucchini in place of the bananas for zucchini bread. And some people like to add chocolate chips to their banana bread. I've done that before. So for this recipe, it calls for 3 bananas. So I'm using 6 because I am doubling it. And like I said, I know these look awful, but there is nothing wrong with them. They've been in my freezer for just maybe a couple of weeks. I'll show you those. Get rid of these. So you can see they're fine. I pulled them out of my freezer last night and put them into the refrigerator, and they were completely thawed. But you see the liquid on that, and like I said, that's important that you keep that. So now you're just going to mash those up. So there they are now, all mashed up. Okay, so your bananas go in next, your mashed bananas. Didn't need that. So now we're just going to give that a mix. And see, I edited some of that. You're going to notice when you watch this because who wants to hear that mixer? So I'm just going to slowly add in some of the flour with the baking soda and get that mixed in. You know, I've honestly never tried another banana bread recipe. This is just the one that my mom always made, and it's, like I said, it's such a good one. This is just the one I've always made. I'm going to stop and scrape that bowl. If you've watched me at all, you know that that does drive me nuts. I even said that earlier. Thing is you want to incorporate those ingredients as good as possible. So when you're not scraping that bowl, to me, you may not be getting some stuff mixed in. Now this bread's going to take at least 50 minutes because you're only baking it at 325. So I always say at about 50 minutes, just start checking it with a toothpick or a knife. And as soon as that knife comes out clean, it's done. Sorry, that was loud. Again, that's why you kind of want to edit some things out. Nobody wants to hear all that mixing. So I'm just going to give this a quick mix. My spatula. And I've seen banana recipes that call for brown sugar. Again, this is just the recipe I've always used. I will probably never try another banana bread recipe. This is what works. I like it. So that's the one I'm probably going to use. I'm debating on if I'm going to put pecans in all of this or not. I'm going to walk back and ask Lindsay really quick how she feels, because I like her and Matthew to enjoy things too. Well, I don't know where she went. So I think, now for this recipe, it's a half a cup of nuts per loaf. Again, I'm doubling it. So I would do at least a cup of nuts in it. And that's optional. You don't have to, of course, have any nuts. I thought I had walnuts. I prefer walnuts in this, even though I love pecans. But all I've got are pecans, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm trying to debate if I want to do still a loaf with or without some pecans. While I'm still debating that, I'm going to clean this and get my loaf pans ready. I'm going to try something a little bit different today with that. So of course, like with anything, we don't want our bread to stick. And normally when I do banana bread, I will grease and flour those really good. But then I got to thinking if I could use parchment paper to line these, that would take away the worry completely about them sticking. So I'm going to try that, I think, this time. So I'll link this. I'll just go ahead and link my Amazon kitchen list. I think I'm not even going to give a price, but I love these. Let's see. Here's what it is. And that'll be in my kitchen link. 120. And I'm going to say I think this cost me about $7. Is it pricier than buying just a roll of parchment paper? Probably. But to me, they're perfect for the size of a cookie sheet. So I'm going to spray my pans. And I really wouldn't need to spray them, but it'll help that parchment paper stick. So I'm going to try that. Now that does, when you do that, then of course that parchment paper sticks to that better. Okay, so normally I would grease and flour, like I said, those pans. If you ever notice, sometimes banana bread will be really high on top. So one way to avoid that is after you've greased your pan and floured it, if you take a paper towel, and I'll do it on these. If you take a paper towel and go about an inch down all the way around that pan, it'll keep those loaves from wanting to form such a big heap on top. So I just go down just a little ways, and I don't know why that makes a difference, but it does. Now I'm still nervous about it sticking, so what I might do, I'm going to do still just a little bit of flour. It's definitely not going to hurt nothing. Because the last thing I can't stand for my breads to stick in my pans. This should be fine with the parchment paper, but I've never done it this way. And I don't want my bread to stick. I'm not worried about the sides. But this is a lot less messy. So again, I'm just going to wipe that down about an inch. And do I want to add peanuts to all of this? Gosh, I still am debating. I'll do one. I'm going to go ahead and do one without peanuts or without pecans, just because I have a few picky people in the house. So I'm just going to get about half of this batter out, and then I'll mix some peanuts in. Like the one lady that commented on my video talked about, I guess I was not advertising, but I had aluminum foil in that order, and she commented that the aluminum is going to give you cancer. Well, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to give a person cancer, probably. And had she watched more of my videos, she would have seen that I try, you know, I did comment back, and I told her that all of my stuff, like my pans and stuff, are either stainless steel or they're my cast iron that I cook in. So she wasn't telling me anything I didn't already know. And I mean, yeah, I use aluminum foil. I still use it. There's times that I line a pan with it when I use my little toaster oven. Okay, so hopefully I'm about even. And if not, I can put some of this in the other one. I told a fib because I said in one of my videos the next thing I was going to do was pumpkin pie. And I ended up doing this video. And more of that just turned out because, like I said, Johnny was going to be home. He likes pumpkin pie, but he would definitely be more of a fan of the bread. So let's see where I'm at now. And those few pecans are going to hurt anyone. Now at this point, you could even put a few chocolate chips in that if you wanted to. I think we're going to be about even. So I feel like I got those pretty even. Okay. These are going to go into the oven, like I said, 55 to 60 minutes. At 50 minutes, I do start checking them with a toothpick or a knife. And as soon as that comes out clean, they're done. So I will show you here in a little bit how those came out. Okay. Okay, so I'm back and the banana bread is out of the oven. And it ended up, you know, I said, let's see, what did I say? It needs to cook for 50 to 60 minutes. It took 65 minutes. So at that 50-minute mark, like I said, I'll keep checking it. And as soon as that knife or toothpick comes out clean, then it's done. Okay, so there it is. It comes out really pretty. And like I said, if you do that where after you've greased and floured that pan, if you wipe about an inch of that down and around, you won't have that banana bread that's got, and it's fine. I mean, it won't have that dome shape to it. You know, it won't, you know what I mean. So that's my reason for doing that. Now, when mine comes out, I always put a little bit of butter on it. Now, my mom, and you definitely can, well, you can make up a little bit of a glaze with powdered sugar. All I do with mine is put a little bit of butter on it. And these will have to cool. They come out really pretty. And like I said, I've never tried another banana bread recipe. I've just always used this one. We've all liked it. So like I said, put some butter on the top of it. Let me get rid of that. And then all I do with it is sprinkle some powdered sugar over the top. And that, for us anyway, is enough sweetness. But you definitely can make up a glaze to go over it. So I can cut into a piece of this in a minute. I wanted to show, let me raise my camera up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to show this. I had a girl comment, here we go again with comments. But I had a girl comment and say that she wished she could afford the things that I have. And I thought I had talked in my videos a lot about so much of my stuff comes from a Goodwill, yard sales. And of course there's things that I buy, you know, brand new. I think we all do, but something I was going to show, and I'll be, after I slice my banana bread today, I'll be putting it in this just to make it pretty. But I got this from Goodwill. Oh, it's heavy. So pretty. So I got that for $7. A lot of my stuff, like I've said, has come from Goodwill. I recently, I don't know if you saw my video. I've kind of stopped going because I'm running out of places for things. But I got this really pretty Christmas platter, and I paid $7, or no, I paid $5. Okay, I paid $7 for it. And that is by the brand Better Homes and Gardens. I don't know what it would have cost full price. Okay, so enough about that. But I will cut a piece of this. And come to find out, Lindsay would have been fine with the pecans in the bread. So I wish now I would have done it in both, but I didn't. Now this is still warm. Okay, this is a piece without the pecans. Yeah, Matthew, you want this one? And then when I slice it to look pretty and put it in that cake dome, I will put just a little bit more powdered sugar over it. But I'll give Matthew this little piece. He's eating lunch right now. So let's see. Lindsay wanted a piece. So I know this one has the pecans in it. Yeah. So there's a piece with the pecans in it.
This is good, man.
So there's Lindsay's little piece. Now what I'll do, like I said, is I'll get this all sliced up once I know it's good and cool. And I'll put some of it in the cake dome. And it's just to look pretty. It'll be pretty in there and easy for someone to get to when they want a piece. So the next thing on my agenda today, after this bread is cooled, is I've got to go to the grocery store. Johnny will be here in a couple of hours. Matthew's excited. I don't know if I said earlier in the video, I'm going to make a sheet pan dinner, and I'm debating on whether I'm going to put that following with this video. I know you do, honey. I don't know if I'm going to put that with this video. I might. I'll just kind of see how things go. So that's the next thing I've got to do is get to the store, and that sheet pan dinner is just going to be chicken. I'm going to put, it'll be chicken. I've got some corn on the cob to use up. It's going to be asparagus. I think I'm going to cut up some carrots and some potatoes. And I plan to do extra chicken on that because what my thought is to get that baked up. That'll be for dinner tonight. And then I'm going to use the rest of that chicken to make chicken and dumplings sometime this week in Wifey's home. So that's next on my agenda. So there's the banana bread. Beautiful as always. So for now, I'll say goodbye. And if I don't finish this video off with dinner, that'll be another video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.